Good evening, folks. Freddie Vasquez coming on real quick. Talk about the city council meetings from last night as well as last week. Join me. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. I want to just come on real quick to just go over the meeting from last night. And also, I noticed that there were some other meetings. The meeting from last week, didn't get to go over it, but I think it's important because I noticed something that goes along with what I've been discussing in the past couple of podcasts in regards to, empire strategic planning and some of the individuals, the developers, as well as the real estate attorneys and even other lobbying companies. And one of them in particular was DeBello and some other names, and a gentleman by the name of Al DeBello, very well known among political circles and political insiders, and been involved in policies for a long time and very close to Nick Spano in particular. So I want to talk about that. Let's go over it first, and then we'll discuss this meeting. It's important. And I'm also going to show a clip here from this meeting that has to do with Sarah Lawrence College. They are they're seeking for zoning changes to be done in that area because they want to consolidate their properties under one zoning, one zone. And so although they have 4 properties total that they were hoping to have rezoned, they were only able to go with 3 because the community, the residents there at it's Lawrence Park West, actually, the community, they didn't want it. They didn't want anything to change in there, any possibility of some building or some bigger structure, some bigger residential being put there. But they're going east. They're definitely going east, on Scarsdale Road. They're putting up a development. So I want to show that. And so let's go over this meeting. This is John Rubo here, who chairs the real estate committee, right? And that's something that we spoke about, or I spoke about here in the podcast in terms of it being ethical. His landlord is AMS Acquisitions, and they're also clients of Empire Strategic Planning. They're doing a lot of development here in the city of Yonkers. The Big Teutonia that I talked about last night, 900 units. They own the trolley barn where his business is located. So they're all doing well. It's about rich people getting richer, right? Mr. Free Money, PPP loan, John Rubo, who got $300,000 worth of free money from the taxpayers, but didn't pay his wages. So not sure if that's leading to his tax issues, but he is the chair of the real estate committee, and he was appointed to that position years back by Corazon Pineda Isaac. He was appointed to it when he was a Republican. Corazon, a Democrat, then was criticized for it as the majority leader. She was the majority leader, Corazon. And so people wonder, why would she give such an important position to a Republican? Well, now John Rubo's a Democrat. If you don't know, but many do, he converted to Democrat. But why did she give him that position? And why has he been in that position ever since? He's never moved out of it. They've had how many reorganization meetings? Maybe at least 1, maybe 2, I should say. Probably 2, I think, right now. And they haven't, maybe more, actually. Don't they do that every 2 years, right? More, actually. And so why haven't someone else taken that position? And also, an interesting thing is that after the fact he was made chair of the real estate committee, they then went to the Yonkers Ethics Board, which we're still confused on whether or not it exists. And they determined that it was ethical. Nothing wrong with him sitting as the chair and even voting on, things that are coming before him from AMS. And so he's been there ever since. But what has the Yonkers Board of Ethics done since? We don't even know if they exist. They were supposed to have a meeting when someone had written an email inquiring about the existence of this elusive board. And they say, oh, yeah, they have a meeting coming up. But guess what? They canceled it just before the meeting. And then there wasn't one that was rescheduled, right? So does this board exist? Another interesting thing about the Yonkers Board of Ethics is that, and when you go on the website, it states that the treasurer, I believe, or the secretary, I should say, the secretary is a man named Dennis Gallego. Well, his wife, Roseanne Gallego, is the one that filed for the Committee for Better Yonkers and is being sued by Mike Cater. So how ethical is that, Mr. Dennis, that your wife would be involved with the Committee for Better Yonkers and they did what they did to the former city council president, Mike Cater? A lot of very unethical stuff there, Dennis. Was your wife involved? And now she's being sued. Right? So let's hear what John Rubo had to say here. I'm going to leave it like this because it just, let me see if I can get it to play.
Department would like to comment on this particular item.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Really, all we have to report is that the planning board had the matter referred to it by the city council and then made a favorable report about the requested zone changes.
Thank you.
Of course they did.
Janet, would you like to add anything on behalf of the petition?
Now listen to Janet and where she works, who she's there on behalf, what firm.
Sure, thank you. For the record, my name is Janet Garris. I'm a partner with Del Bello, Dinellen, Weingarten, Wise, and Whitaker, and I'm here this evening.
Did you hear that? The Bello, Weingarten, Whitaker, and some other stuff. I don't know if I got it right. First name is the only one that, maybe the older them, I don't know, but the Bello. And so she's there, and this is what I've been talking about on the last two podcasts. These individuals, these law firms, real estate law firms, and even lobbying, because they're also considered a lobbying firm. They're listed on the New York State website. If you go there, remember I told you they were attached to Empire Strategic Planning, and they were also representing similar clients. They have mutual clients, one of them being Joseph D. Simone with Hutch Management. And so now Sarah Lawrence has retained this law firm or lobbying firm to come before our Yonkers City Council, the Real Estate Committee, with John Rubo as the chair, to request zoning changes because they want to consolidate their properties into one zone. And this is over at Sarah Lawrence in the Lawrence Park West neighborhood.
On behalf of the petitioner, Sarah Lawrence College, just to refresh your recollection on this is a petition for some modifications to the zoning map affecting 3 properties that have been long owned by Sarah Lawrence College. This isn't something new where they've acquired property and they're looking to rezone. So there are 3 properties. The first is 1229 Midland Avenue. That's currently in the MG zone, but it's currently in a apartment house that's used by the college for housing its students. The second is 879 Kimball Avenue, which is currently zoned S60. The third is 161 Hampshire Road, currently zoned S200. So with regard to the MG piece, we think it makes sense for that to belong in the CU district. It's long been used by the college for housing its students. And to allow it to be rezoned CU would allow them to be able to use, for example, common areas for some other things that are college related that they can't currently use. With regard to the piece that's currently zoned S60, the zoning line goes right through the existing parking structure on the property. So we believe that this was an error when the map was being revised and changed when the CU district was created. And then with regard to 161 Hampshire, this is also a property that's long been owned by Sarah Lawrence. They would use that only for their administrative offices. This is something that we worked with the Lawrence Park West Homeowners Association with their counsel, Jim Veneruso. And if the city council does agree to rezone that property, we have agreed to file a declaration of restrictions which would limit the use of that. And if there were ever to be any change in use, it would have to come back before the city council. There is no intention to ever use it for anything else but for administrative offices, or it would be then again single-family homes. So it's intended to remain the way it is. It's intended to remain residential looking, and as I mentioned, there would be a declaration of restrictions filed. So as Mr. Ellman said, we did get a favorable recommendation from the planning board, and now we are looking to have you set a public hearing at some point.
So the next step would be a public hearing, or so they can have the public come and voice their concerns or their support or whatever it is that they want to say. But we know that they don't really announce these meetings really well. So this is why I want to make sure I show this. I also shared it on Nextdoor app. The public meeting or hearing will be on April 25th. I would imagine between 6 and 7. I'm not sure. Go at 6. And they always save this stuff where they know people are going to probably be very vocal to the end. They want people to just get tired and not stay, right? But kudos to the people last week at the zoning meeting who waited all the way to the very end. I was there 3 hours. But you know what? I didn't realize the time went by so quick because I was so into it. But 3 hours I sat there and they finally got to it at the end. But she wasn't very clear why they want the changes. And she does explain a little further because she wasn't very clear there, but she still isn't clear. I mean, they're not going to do anything. They just want to, use some of the buildings that they have pre-existing as office space or administrative space. So, after watching this segment here, I was wondering if Sarah Lawrence was looking to maybe move and they wanted to be more appealing to a buyer if the zoning was different, right? So I'm just saying. Freddie, here's a list of Board of Ethics from Yonkers City website. No dates, no idea if it's still active, no transparency. Yeah, I mean, we were wondering that as well. So we, someone sent an email inquiring and they said, yeah, no, it's still active. They're actually having a meeting on this day. So, we intended on going. I was going to go, and then the meeting was canceled. They said, no, it's not going to happen. Then I don't know really why, and they never had anything else. But the list of people who are on it has not changed. It's been like that for a while. A lot of the stuff on the internet, on the website, is not really updated. But let's hear more about this woman. So again, she's connected to DeBello, that law firm that I showed you. That's also a lobbying firm that's connected to Empire Strategic Planning, that contributes, donates to a lot of the elected officials, the city council members who are there at the meeting. That's right. And they also have deals with other developers that pay them to lobby for them. So they come before developer Sarah Lawrence, and they're going to get what they want. They play to pay. They pay to play. They pay to play. They know who to hire. It's just like if you hire a specific, architect, which is going around robbing people because they know that the city, the board, the building department is kind of pushing people their way, leaving them with no choice, allowing for them to charge more than what another architect may charge. That's a scam in itself, and I'll talk about that another day. Remain residential looking. These days, that could mean anything. Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. She's being very vague, and that's what they do. Attorneys do. She's being very vague. They're going to remain residential looking. But why are you changing the zoning? Why are you requesting this? Why is Sarah Lawrence spending the money to pay for this law firm of lobbying to come before the city council in order to have the zoning change, just so they can consolidate their properties into one zone? Why? If you're not going to do anything? Or are you looking to sell the property at some point and you want to be more appealing to buyers who would want to put high-rise or residentials in that area? So Lawrence Park West, folks, you got to think ahead. Think of what this might mean. Maybe not now. And so they think they're slick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would the councilman of the area, Councilman Breen, like to add anything?
Thank you. Yes. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. The apartment building was a no-brainer. The lot where the parking lot went through was a no-brainer. And then there was much discussions on 161 Hampshire. between Ms. Giris representing the college and Mr. Veneruso representing the neighbors. I think they've ironed out hopefully an ironclad agreement that the property will be used the way Sarah Lawrence says they're going to use it. Obviously, as Ms. Giris said, if that changes, they're going to have to come back to the city council. So I think both sides have reached an agreement, and that's why it's here. That's why I'll be supporting it, and I look forward to getting this taken care of. Thank you.
And so, of course, Breen, you're going to support it. And notice that they said that they would be willing to sign some or have some kind of agreement stating that they would not do anything there outside of what they just have already, right? Of course, they would make that agreement with Sarah Lawrence, but would that agreement carry over to anyone who would buy the property if they were to sell?
Thank you, Minority Leader. With that being said, is there any opposition to moving this out of committee to this evening's Rules Committee?
Before. No, I don't have any opposition. I just wanted to ask a question for clarity.
Sure.
If planning could explain for the viewing audience what MG, S60, and S200 zone classifications are and how they differ from the CU?
Certainly. The CU zone was a zone that was created in the late 80s to allow for the several colleges that were in Yonkers at the time. We've lost Elizabeth Seton College, that was one of the CU zones, but the two seminaries and Sarah Lawrence. At the time, there was expansions of the colleges, and there were concerns on the part of the neighborhoods looking to solidify how things were done. So we created a college and university zone, and that allows, as Ms. Giris said, college uses, which could be everything from dormitories.
It allows for
Family
college
homes for staff people in kind of the old-fashioned way of a college president or a senior professor.
So he lists a bunch of different things that zoning could, allow for, but he's still very vague. They don't tell you exactly what they want to do. They say they're going to keep it the same. That's what they say. Nothing's going to change. So why are they coming before and spending this money to change the zoning there?
Hoods looking to solidify how things were done. So we created a college and university zone. And that allows, as Ms. Giris said, college uses, which could be everything from dormitories, single-family homes for staff people in kind of the old-fashioned senior professor, having a home, dormitories, all of the variety of college uses. And that's why Sarah Lawrence in particular is looking to make the change, because Sarah Lawrence has always told us in our conversations that they like to have classrooms in their dorms and lounges in their classroom buildings, so that there is not a strict definition of one to the other. They've told us that makes for a better experience for the school. The S60 zone is a single family only 6,000 square foot lot size. So that would not permit the college uses. And the MG zone is a multifamily low density zone. MG, think of it as multi-garden apartment style. And both of the residential zones don't work for a college use. So this way, all of the colleges' land holdings in the area are all zoned and usable in the same way.
He says they're not good for college use because they're garden style apartments, right? That means that they don't go too high, 1-2 floors. So they want to change it so they can go higher to accommodate for the uses of college life or whatever it is. Well, I've, went to college. I been to college in 2 different states, actually. And down in the South, also Midwest, they don't really have high rises for college dorms. And even here, they don't. You may see that's maybe, it's rare. So that's just a bunch of nonsense. They're actually prepping, they're priming the area to have developments of higher or, taller residential buildings. And they're going to do that all along the east side. And I've been saying that. The east side is going to be impacted.
That would be fine. Also, we perhaps would set a date of April 25th for the public hearing, because we do need to have a public hearing to move this forward. So I'm being told that April 25th would be a good date to schedule a public hearing.
Who's telling you that?
So I would propose that be also added tonight, that we do that.
Okay, thank you.
Are the people telling you that, Mike Breen? Folks in Lawrence Park West, the public hearing will be April 25th.
For planning or Ms. Giris? Councilman Moranti.
Moranti, he tries to present some kind of opposition, right? I don't know if it's for show or he's really being genuine. I can't really tell. Either way, he doesn't really state his point clearly. And so his opposition, just falls short of really making a real impact. Like he's all over the place with it. And so, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there with Moranti. Check it out.
Apologize if it was said and I just may have not heard you say it, but this has been like this for years, okay? And what triggered the, for it to be changed? Something must have happened after all these years that all of a sudden this thing came up. Then what do they want to do that triggered this correct classification, if you want to call it?
Sorry. Let me ask Ms. Giris to answer that question because
So he's basically saying, what is it all of a sudden that brought this desire to want to change this zoning for the area? All of a sudden, as Sarah Lawrence has been there forever, they've operated, normally, with no problems. And, again, he said they want to put classrooms in dormitories. Since when do colleges have classrooms in dormitories? You want to separate the two for a reason. I don't know.
it's about what the college is interested in.
Right, so as I mentioned, these are properties that have been owned by the college for many years. There's nothing different proposed for them other than to consolidate.
I'm sorry. It's like if I don't have it this way, it doesn't play. It's very weird.
Sorry. Let me ask Ms. Giris to answer that question because it's about what the college.
If, for example, they wanted to have a public safety office in the garage or the lower level of that building, they wouldn't be allowed to do that under the current zoning. So they're not looking to change anything about the campus or the site. They're just looking to consolidate their holdings in the CU district. And again, with the one that has the parking structure on it, that's long been constructed, and we think it was just a mapping error at some point. As I mentioned, the zoning line literally goes through the existing parking structure. And then with regard to 161 Hampshire, that had typically been used as a house for faculty, but they have a need for administrative offices, and they would like to be able to use that for administrative offices. But
so it was a house for faculty, right? Because it's zoned for only single-family homes, but now they have a need for administrative offices, so they must build a taller building. Did they hire new staff? I mean, there's nowhere else they can put these administrative offices?
other than that, no change to the exterior.
Well, I understand that part. There was not going to be no changes for what you're saying. Is that, but usually, something that sits there in the condition that it is for years and years and years, that something triggered the, oh, by the way, we wanted to make this an administrative office, and then you went to figure out and we couldn't do that. So, that's all I'm saying. That's something, there was no specific incident that occurred that triggered this,
No, I mean, they're always looking. I mean, we did the Barbara Walters Center a few years back.
Anthony Moranti, why don't you just say, why all of a sudden? Are you guys looking to possibly sell the property one day? Is that why you want to consolidate it all under one zone? I don't understand. I mean, it's been that way forever. What specifically are you going to do? Details, please tell me. If you get this approved, what are you going to do?
The community did not want that piece of property being CU. And Sarah Lawrence.
For example, for when.
And Sarah Lawrence.
What up?
And so that was part of it.
What up? Mike Breen states here, because there's one of the properties they have, the residents there did fight it. They didn't want that change because I guess it was too close to their neighborhood, right? Because Sarah Lawrence is a big property there. The campus is pretty wide and expansive, so it covers, a big area. So that's a certain area that they probably don't care that it changes because it won't be so close to their homes, right? Like the Chick-fil-A over here in Roxbury, that's going to be literally on top of the homes over here, which the zoning doesn't allow for that driveway exit on Roxbury, so it should have never been approved. You guys should check that out. All those who oppose it, Anthony Moranti, they messed up there. Jump on that. And so, but now this fourth property is closer to the homes, and they fought that. But you should have fought it all, guys.
But the other pieces were all part of it too. It's really to clean it up and consolidate it into the single zone.
Structures are staying the same. We're not building another building on there. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Harris. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
See, Moranti didn't need much, convincing. He just said, I just want to make sure you're not going to build another building there. Oh, no. Okay, cool. Okay. I'm good. I'm good with it. But that's not enough. Dig deeper, Moranti. That doesn't make sense. If they're not going to do anything, it doesn't make sense. Wait till you're actually going to do something before you come before us for a zone change, and then present what it is you want to do in detail.
Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Breen?
Thank you. During the negotiations, there was a fourth piece of property which is not included because the community did not want that piece of property being CU. And Sarah Lawrence negotiated, and that property we're not even discussing tonight. So this was...
Folks, I want to actually stop that. I'm sorry not to stop it, but the fact that that community was able to stop a zone change says a lot. Sarah or Lawrence Park West is probably one of the most affluent, if not the most affluent communities here in the city of Yonkers, neighborhoods here in Yonkers. That's where Wilson Kimball lives. Very affluent. And so when they speak up about something, they're going to get it. In Yonkers over here on the west side, they're not going to care. They're going to roll their eyes. They're not going to listen. They're going to be in their phone while you are voicing your concern and reasons why zone laws should not be changed. You see how people get treated differently.
Negotiated very thoroughly between Lawrence Park, their legal team, and Sarah Lawrence. So we have the three properties.
Has a legal team. That's exactly what I'm saying. I mentioned this. If the people on the west side were to get together and had a legal team and challenged a lot of these zoning changes that have been taking place and these developments that have been approved, and a real lawyer that actually was willing to do their job, a lot of them would have been stopped. A lot of them would be stopped. Like the Chick-fil-A, they had got an attorney, they'd be stopped. But again, Lawrence Park West is a very affluent neighborhood, not the most affluent in Yonkers. And they'll go and spend the money just for this on an attorney, those folks, because they got it like that. And that's the difference. That's a huge difference. And so people on the west side may not. And they're not going to do that. People in a lot of other areas are not going to do that. And therefore, their voices is not going to be enough or not going to be enough. They need an attorney. Lawrence Park West, they can afford it. They got it.
One is the apartment building, one is the parking lot, and one is this S200 that's the house that they're using for offices. So it's all been ironed out. And I'm the other thing with the fourth property, which we're not talking about, I would have dug my heels in because that I didn't want to see that go into CU zone. It didn't. Everybody listened to everybody, and that's why we have this plan here tonight. So Thank you very much.
He made that very clear. The 4 properties. That's not what we're talking about here. We don't want those folks getting their attorney on us about all of this and stopping it all. Right? That just goes to show the difference in class. And so now they're talking about the affordable housing ordinance.
Council would like, but if, both are getting presented at the same time, we're probably looking at, a 4 to 5 week out timeline.
Wow.
Before drafts of both can be presented at the same time.
Wow. 4 to 5 week timeline before a draft could be presented. How long is this going to take? There was a draft already presented. The city council had no problem with it. You guys passed it. But then the mayor had an issue with it, and everybody, nope. Tasha Diaz, about face. That means you turned around, Tasha. I didn't insult you. Right? The mayor didn't want it. That goes to show you that they will do and they do what the mayor wants them to do. So we have no check and balance. We have no representation whatsoever. These folks have not done any meaningful legislation. This is probably the most important one that's been discussed now for the past 2 years because we have a housing crisis. But the developers run the show through their money. And they didn't want an affordable housing ordinance that was going to impact their developments. They'd either have to add more affordable units or set aside more units for affordable housing or spend more money paying for those apartments that they were going to exclude. And that's why they killed it. That's why it was never going to go anywhere. It was a show from the get-go. John Rubo was against it as the chair of the real estate committee, AMS being his landlord. You think John Rubo was ever going to support an affordable housing ordinance that was 20%, especially that was 20%? No way. He would have got kicked out of his space over there at the trolley barn. They would have booted the brewing company out. AMS is doing too much residential development to have had that passed. 900 over there at Teutonia, another 2,000 at Chicken Island. And another almost 2,000 over there at that Locust Hill, North Broadway project. They didn't want that to pass, and so that was a show. So John Rubo all of a sudden changed his mind. He was for it now because they had a plan. The mayor was going to veto it. And it was elections. Remember, he was going up against Carlos Burgos, progressive Democrat, all for housing. And really any Democrat, any real Democrat anyway, should be for affordable housing. They should want to pass this. But they failed us.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the planning department in regards to the policies and procedures that they're working on? Anything that we'd like to add on this as they move forward with that process? Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to go on record saying, thank you, the administration, for moving along with doing exactly what I was one of the persons that advocated for.
She almost said just I. Shanae Williams, just so, come on, man. Like, Shanae Williams has not been a real advocate for this. She has not. Mike Cater authored that affordable housing to 20%. She supposedly did some revisions and then introduced it. And that was a strategy by Mike Cater because he felt that a Black woman introducing it and Shanae Williams, who had been there longer and was closer to the administration, may get it passed. Mike Cater was just all about getting it passed, not about the accolades, but getting it done. Tasha Diaz was all for it because her constituents are ones that are benefiting. But guess who else is benefiting from affordable housing? Well, Tasha Diaz herself, the majority leader. She gets to benefit. Meanwhile, she doesn't seem to be in support of those who need affordable or even low-income housing, but definitely not affordable housing. But she benefits from affordable housing. Have they requalified her income? No, she probably gets away with it. So Shanae Williams is really full of it. She doesn't care. She hasn't been championed for it. A real advocate would have been screaming from mountain to mountain, right? From the top of City Hall saying, hey, we want this passed. Why is it taking so long? She doesn't seem to care. What they're waiting for is for the developments to go up, for the most part, get approved. And so by the time one gets passed, AMS will be done. That's probably who they're waiting for, AMS. Get your Chicken Island done, get your North Broadway project done, and then we'll pass the affordable housing ordinance. That's what they're probably doing. AMS runs Yonkers.
Getting the policies and procedural done alongside with the ordinance. So I can be patient and wait for more information to come out of that before moving forward on the affordable ordinance. So thank you.
People.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Need housing, and she can
Council
be
President.
patient.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question with, in the AHO, there is a section that addresses pre-screening, but doesn't go into great detail. Will there be more detail and criteria for pre-screening of applicants in the handbook?
Yes, there will be. That'll be addressed in the handbook. And all the comments that we received from council members regarding concerns that they have as far as that screening process is concerned will all be taken into consideration.
Awesome, because we've had community members and former council members who have expressed their hardships with finding units, and whether it's the credit score that they ask for, whether or not they allow pets, issues that impact the very community that we are trying to serve with this AHO. So hopefully when we see that, it'll be an excellent plan. Well,
Hopefully, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy. Notice how Lakeisha is all of a sudden trying to be, asking these questions and make sure she's, trying to represent the people right, and be very good at her job. All of a sudden, asking these questions that she normally would not have asked. That's one thing I would say on the podcast, and other people would say they never asked questions. They would just pass everything, approve everything, 7-0 adopted, 7-0 adopted. They would go through these, the agenda meetings, the agenda notes or whatever, and they wouldn't even ask questions. They wouldn't ask, what does that mean? Explain that to the people. Ask why, right? I mean, say something. None of them would have anything to say. But as I spoke about that more and more on the podcast, they started to ask more questions, be a little more vocal. But then again, it's all for show. Like in the case of the Anthony Moranti opposition, or the question to, Sarah Lawrence, all of a sudden, why is it that you want to change the zoning? But I mean, it wasn't a clear, concise question. I mean, I get what he was trying to say, but it was kind of all over the place and it wasn't effective. And you really didn't do a good job really digging in and finding out why is it that you guys are here hiring DeBello to come before us so we can change the zoning in that area. Why? If you're not going to do anything, you just want to consolidate your property. So, we need real representation, right? We need people that really care about the people, that care about those issues and understand what it's really about, that have foresight and a level of, intellect and capability, because they fail us. They fail us every time.
Yes.
So I'm going to move on here to this meeting about here.
take it away.
Thank you. Good evening. Of Environmental Conservation.
And so tonight's meeting, they had a high school or students come out, and I see that's another thing. Now they're trying to really show support to the schools and things that they do and highlight them and all that. So they had kids play, which is great. I appreciate that. But it's, again, for show. And where's the real impact, the real substance? Are we getting new equipment? Are we going to really build up the music and arts program? Or is this just bringing in these kids here, that, really need a lot of resources and need new equipment and all that to sound like a lot of the other schools that I've been fortunate to see? And I just have to make these criticisms because that's the only way we can fix them. Can't ignore them. Can't act like it's all great. Otherwise, we'll never get anything changed, right? As much as we want to be positive, but we have to be honest. It's crazy how you need attorneys to do what's good for the community. Local government should be looking out for their residents, not the other way around. Absolutely, but they're all bought and paid for, as you can see. Those developers that come before them fund their campaigns. They pay Nick Spano's Empire Strategic Planning. Nick Spano gets them their job. You heard Lakeisha Collins-Bellamy. She thanked Vinny Spano. She thanked Mike Spano for believing in her and appointing her to the school board of trustees just before she went on to run for city council president, because that was the plan. They try to set her up so she could have this track record, I guess. She was in the school board of trustees for barely a year before she runs and beats Mike Cater out of nowhere, has all this support, a virtual political nobody. Yet she gets these unions, police unions, and all these other people and all these organizations to do about face and take their endorsement away from Mike Cater and give it to her. How does she do that? Think about it. How? How did you do that? Nobody asked that question. Lakeisha, who was your strategist? Who put together your fundraisers? How did you get your Castle Royale extravaganza, right? So all these questions we should be asking because they'll lead to your answer, which is the administration, Nick Spano, Zahi Jarris, Vinny Spano, right? And so she's going to do what they say. She said it. Vinny's going to whisper in my ear and I'm going to do what he says. I'm going to rely on him. He said, hey, Lakeisha, you need to introduce legislation to extend the term limits. We need Mike to be mayor again. And she did by herself. And so that's a problem. That's a problem. That's not okay. We don't have representation. We don't. Tasha Diaz, same thing. She's bought. Zahi Jarris, she's the same team. Shanae Williams, she's bought. She just wants to move on up. It's all about her. That's why she said, we, whatever. It's always me. Look at me. I'm so great. She just wants to be county legislator. But folks over there who she's going to represent, no, I don't think so. Here's the band here for the school. All right. Great. And they got all these awards and stuff. I love what this guy came in and said, this resident here. He had some stuff to say.
Newspapers of record.
Thank you. I do see that we have members in the gallery. We have also a number of people who signed up to speak. Mr. Clerk, you'll call the first speaker.
Meeting, and this is in regards to certain developments, one of them being a development going up on Scarsdale Road. And so the residents are coming out. More and more people are coming out against these developments. The biggest problem is that they do not know. They don't know about this until the last minute. So it's important to share these podcasts. My podcasts are now going to become more and more about information, informing people on stuff like this and connecting these dots, not so much about, what people did at pool parties. This is important to know. This is the information that really needs to be put out there so you can understand why our elected officials vote the way that they vote, do what they do.
Tom Kindle?
Hi, excuse me. Thanks for the concert. I came in and I didn't know where I was headed, but I followed the music. Anyway, my name is Tom Kendall. I live.
He said, thanks for the concert. Didn't know where I was going, but I followed the music because the guy's there for business, not to put on a show and pretend that you care about our schools. You care about our schools by focusing on our schools, by making our schools the priority.
Live at 124 Scarsdale Road. It's right near exit 4 of the Bronx River Parkway and very close to 21 Scarsdale Road. In fact, I've had one or two beers at the Wicked Wolf in my day. Anyway, I've lived here since 1987. I don't know a ton load about the project, I'll admit that, because I've seen very little information on it, which makes me nervous. I did read some of the stuff about they want to put in 150 apartments there, 50 of which would be 500 square feet, which are probably the size of this room, maybe a little bit smaller. My concerns are a couple, and I know that you guys will consider this and treat your constituents fairly. One is the biggest thing is traffic. I don't know how much time you guys spend over there, but I live right at the traffic light. In the morning rush hour, the cars line up to Malcolm Wilson Park. The same thing going the other way, coming from Tuckahoe, because this is right on the border. I won't give you my speech on the Tuckahoe traffic lights, because I think that they back up traffic forever. My driveway butts right out onto Scarsdale Road. I won't tell you how many times I've missed lights just waiting for the traffic. So one is traffic. And I think you guys need to give due consideration to how, with 150 other families there potentially. Number two is that there are no facilities in Tuckahoe. There's not a supermarket, there's not a pharmacy, there's a bunch of restaurants. So if you want to go shopping, you want to buy groceries, you want to buy pharmaceuticals, you need to get to CVS. You either need to take the bus or you need a car, and there's not many buses there. Or you take the train and go up to, either you go north to Crestwood, there's no supermarket there, you got to go to Scarsdale, or you go south to Bronxville. So I think that it would be a big strain. The facilities just don't exist. And then, the last thing is just the quality of life. I've lived here since 1987. I retired 5 years ago. My wife and I thought long and hard about where we want to spend the rest of our lives. And to be honest, we chose Yonkers. We love it. Good working class, neighborhoods, lovely place. We sunk a bunch of money into our house.
Look at that.
We're going to be here forever. So I do worry about, 150 new families, 150, 500 square feet apartments, which are only good for, singles, young people, which I have nothing against. I was young once myself. But I think that the strain on the resources and on the traffic and on the quality of life is something you really need to think about before you go approving this project. If it was smaller, I probably wouldn't have an issue with it. But the fact that they want to take that big building, put 2 floors above it, from what I understand, they want to build another building. There's parking there. It's just, I think it's excessive, frankly. That's just my view. And like I said, there's very little information in the public purview about this. Most of my neighbors don't even know about it. There's one sign up there, and I know you guys said you published something in the paper, but it didn't get very far, at least in my neighborhood. So I think you could do a better job of letting your constituents know it's such a big project happening right down the street. Anyway,
brother.
thank you for hearing me out. My first time to a city council meeting. It's just a lovely room. And go Yonkers. Thank you.
Mario.
Excellent, excellent. I think he did a great job. I think he did a great job. I think he's one of the best I've seen go up there. And I'm going to say this reason why. Because he was very honest, sincere. He was clear. He didn't show any signs of anger. He wasn't bitter about his property being affected specifically, but the community. He's not necessarily all the way against it. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for that area. And have you considered the strain, as he says, on resources, quality of life, traffic? It's going to be disruptive to people's lives and peace. I know that area. I don't live too far from that area, and I've traveled that road many times going home. It's a nice area, beautiful, quiet area, and they're looking to disrupt more and more neighborhoods like this. And one of the things that he says again, that continues to resonate, to echo, I should say, right? It's the lack of information. They are not informing the people. Doesn't really seem like they are making any attempt at all. He says that they, I know you put something in a paper. What paper? What paper are we talking about? The Yonkers Rising? The Yonkers Tribune? The Yonkers Snooze Wire? By the way, this episode is sponsored by Brian Harrod at the Yonkers Newswire once again. The Yonkers Voice. Folks, this is why I speak about these individual news outlets, quote unquote, because this is who they use to get important information out. And these individuals are biased because they are paid. They know what they're doing. It's purposely planned to minimize the amount of people that actually know. The sooner you know, the worse it is for them. The more you have an opportunity to oppose it. And so this is why I speak about those papers. It's important. It's not my personal beef with anybody. It's because they are a part of their whole scheme. To fit the state. Isn't that what it's called? Journalism. You need to have propaganda. And that is what they're about. What paper? The Journal News? Who reads that anyway? I don't even think it's the Journal News. One of the three, they have to, by law, they have to post it in 3 newspapers or news outlets or whatever. Well, that's Yonkers Times, Dan Smurfy. That guy's bought and paid for. He got to be an official newspaper, so he's not going to ever oppose them. Also, the Yonkers Tribune. That's why he hasn't been the same. And I believe the Yonkers Voice or one of those other ones, which is Brian Harrod and Ruros. That they run that together along with the Yonkers Newswire. And they are paid by the city. The city purposely wants to keep you from knowing. So they are going to do what they need to do to make sure it doesn't really blow up. Why don't they make a live about it, right? Hey, just coming out and let you know there are going to be a meeting on such and such day. That's what I would do. April 25th to the folks at Lawrence Park West for the public hearing. Don't forget. And so that's what they do. They want to keep it purposely low. And in fact, I noticed that they literally posted 3 days before, because I've seen on the Yonkers Tribune, the meetings he posted, you can see it on the right-hand side when you go to the page, and it'll tell you the date when it was posted. And I even asked myself, why is he only posting it 3 days before the actual meeting? Important information and important meetings and important public hearings like the term extension. And that was a big crowd on such a short notice. And I remember one woman in particular who had just found out that night about the meeting over at the Riverfront Library. She came straight from work, but the first stop she made was at City Hall. And she made it a point to tell him that. On the flyer, it had a picture of City Hall, confusing me, confusing people. That's their goal. When you start understanding that nothing is done accidentally and that everything is done with intention, you will start to understand what it is that's going on here in the city of Yonkers. Lakeisha got the CLSA endorsement because Spano has promised its president, Captain Mike Hanley, a plunder pass, permission to steal overtime in exchange for doing his bidding, just as Spano gave Lieutenant Mike Koch after he sold out as the union president. I'll explain when we pod, Freddie, and that'll be on Friday between 8 and 9. Friday night, folks. Make sure you join me and Anthony DiMaggio. Yes, he spoke very well, very clearly, and he didn't speak with anger. He didn't sound like he had an agenda, unlike the second guy that came up, who spoke as a, member of the community, but he was very detailed in what he wanted. He was in support of it, but also thought that it would be a good idea to add all these other things along with it. And he makes a list. So who sent this guy? It's kind of like the people that went up saying 4 more years for Mike Spano, but didn't give you any real reason why, no real clear, concise reason as to why we should change the law, amend the charter, and extend the term limits once again, to 4 terms after it was changed to 3 terms 4 years prior. And all the people that went up, you can link them back to a city job, to a position on a board or a committee, to employment with one of our officials, or some connection to the city, whether it's a job and taxpayers are funding them, or they are an organization where they're receiving grants funneled to them solely all the time, right? And one of the individuals, Janai Wallace, who was appointed to the planning board very recently. Planning board is the 2 gentlemen that you see there, Lou Albano and the other guy. Don't know, forgot his name. I'm sorry, guy. Nice guys. And you can totally tell by his demeanor and the way he talks that, hey, I got to go with the program, right? He's trying to keep it as minimal as possible. I'm just doing what, my job is. Whether this plan or this project should be approved or not, that's not my concern. It's just, I'm going to tell you the logistics within that and how that will work if you were to approve this. They both look concerned, and that is why they had to reduce the requirements for the building department, because no real licensed engineer would take that job and sign off on everything like they're doing there, right? And so this is how they make their money. This is how the Spano administration and others make money, by having projects approved, zoning laws changed. And it's all done through lobbying with Empire Strategic Planning, or by donating to candidates of their choice, the ones that they want in position, because they know those candidates will do what it is they want them to do. So everything gets adopted 7-0. That's something new. Mike Spano is the first, one and only mayor of the city of Yonkers to ever have such a voting streak of 7-0. Adopted 7-0. In fact, I'm hearing, and I have to confirm this, that Mike Spano's administration, and Mike Spano's the first mayor to make so much less than so many people that work for the city. I mean, you got guys making almost $300,000 a year, 270, 250. You got DPW guys making more than the mayor. The mayor's nephew, Steve Squig, made more than the mayor by over $50,000. But the mayor is the one that has the house in Mastic, Long Island, along the beach, and Nick Spano, not Steve Squig. But you made more than the mayor, Steve. Why didn't you buy a home there? Or did you? Many of the Spano family members have homes out in Mastic, Long Island. Beautiful area, expensive area, right along the beach there. And so when they're not in City Hall, that's where they're at. That's where you can find them. I wonder if Lakeisha's been down to the Hamptons there. Mastic I don't know if that's the Hamptons, that's close to the Hamptons. And what about the homes in Florida? All funded by developers who are looking to do business in Yonkers and in Westchester County, thanks to our city council members who have allowed for their positions to be utilized as a way to make money. Their positions are a way to make money, a way to generate money for certain individuals. They sell their votes. Their votes are for sale. Adopted 7-0. That is worth money. A lot of money. Those aren't newspapers, though. She said paper. Yeah, I know. Well, the Yonkers Rising is technically a paper. The mayor gets family perks. Absolutely. Gets a lot of perks, right? So they have houses, perks and benefits, man. That's what it's all about. You get in these positions, you get things that other people don't get. You know about things that are coming down the pipeline, so you get to act on it before other people, right? So if you have a business or you start to buy property, like the Spanos did over there at the Ludlow Park area. And I'm still trying to figure out, and we're going to be looking into, why is it that a property owned by the YIDA, 80 Knoll Street, has a mailing address listed to 130 Fernbrook, which is the property owned by the mayor. That's very interesting. Now, 80 Knoll Street, I believe, may be, is that in the Ludlow Park area? I believe that goes down to the Ludlow Park, someone was telling me. And if that's the case, then is that how they went and bought property, knowing that that was going to be all bought up and then developed by the Ginsburg or some other developer? 130 Fernbrook is the property owned by Nick Spano, which is directly across the street from the bus depot that's going to be turned into a park, which sources say will be named Leonard Spano Park. So they're closing down the bus depot, eliminating over 100 jobs, one of many businesses that have been forced closed in order to be sold to developers or to, in this case, be developed into a park. Why? Why do we need another waterfront park? Did we not have JFK Marina? And what about the pier? Well, they are going to privatize that. The JFK Marina is going to be turned into luxury townhomes. That's actually what's going to be done there. Nothing is going to be done with that power plant. There's not going to be any climate change research facility. It's going to be townhomes, luxury residentials. That's why they wanted to put the parking lot there. Remember, it was, opposed and it never happened. But had that parking lot gone through, then you would have seen the beginning of residential being developed there. And you have to understand that Extel, the other developers that are building, I believe, like 5 residentials on the MTA, the former MTA bus depot, by the Greystone Foundation over there. Well, Extel and the owner of the Gorin Group, Layla Gorin, were partners at one point. And then they had a falling out. And now they're in court over some deals that went south. But Layla Lauren was like a scout. She wasn't necessarily the money woman, but she scouted properties and got them and made deals happen. And so are they fighting over this plan thing? Is that what's holding things up? Why they haven't developed it yet? I mean, that's been sitting there for God knows how long. They've been talking about so many different plans, yet nothing is moving. And then so you have Extel, which is not too far south from the JFK Marina and the power plant there. And so was there some master plan that was supposed to happen with Extel and the Gorin Group that was going to go from the MTA bus depot all the way up to the JFK Marina, and it just fell through? And now these two find themselves in court over this piece of property, right? So that's part of their story. She used to work with them. She was partnered with Extel. And so I was just me thinking, is that part of, that are they trying to capture that whole part of the waterfront there? Extel and the Gorin Group, who once worked together on many deals. And is it because they're now having, legal issues between the two? And is that why the power plant is gone nowhere. It's just still there, right? Still there. But I'm hearing that it's going to be, luxury residentials, and they were even thinking about building a 22-slip marina for yachts. How many people in Yonkers own yachts? So, there's a whole plan that's really being perpetrated for the, benefit of not people from Yonkers, or people from outside of Yonkers, people that are wealthier, more affluent. And so they're setting it up. They're priming Yonkers for this. It's just the beginning. And what you see here is not what's going to be once their 10-year, 15-year plan or phase or whatever is done. It's going to be an entirely new demographic. And I don't believe that it's going to be as diverse as they are now bragging about it. Now, somewhat, I guess, diverse is kind of changing. Yeah, of course it's diverse, because you put a bunch of certain members of one group into an area where it was mostly members of one group. Now, yeah, you're going to make it diverse. But then that group that was originally there is slowly starting to be diluted by the other group that's coming in. So that diversity is slowly going away, and eventually over time, and once those movie studios, it'll be a completely different, area. And I don't know how many, people are in the movie industry that are, minorities, that work in production and all that. So that's going to be a big change, folks. And that's just, I'm glad to see that people are coming out and speaking out about it. I want to show this guy real quick. Just to show you that people lie.
Hi there, good evening, council members. You may have seen me wearing a different hat over the last 30 years through City Hall, but today I come to you as a resident of northeastern Yonkers.
Today he comes as a resident. Listen to this resident.
In the nearby Crestwood neighborhood at 257 Crestwood Avenue. So I just want to go on record as saying I am in favor of a zone change here, in converting the old Hudson Valley Bank, Sterling Bank headquarters to residential. And I appreciate the transit-oriented development aspects of the project that clusters apartment density near the train stations, in this case, the Tuckahoe station. So Yonkers residents get to enjoy, there's 7 different train stations along the Harlem line. But this is a key spot near the Tuckahoe station and diagonally across from the Wicked Wolf restaurant. So if done tastefully and complementary, even an additional building on the complex may work. But what I do have today is, as a pedestrian and as a bicycle fan on the Bronx River pathways, I do a lot of walking near the Bronx River Park.
So, you hear him, you hear how he's talking. He obviously is there with a mission and agenda. Someone sent him there. Go there as a resident and, say all these things. You're in support and propose this. And now he says, he's coming there to propose something as a pedestrian, as a bicyclist that he loves. It's all about this bike path that they're wanting to create there. So they then could connect that also to that greenway, whatever bike path that they're, working on, that's going all the way into the city. It's also going to go, they envision it going along the Hudson River on the west side as well. Eileen O'Connor was talking about it, and she was all for it and stuff. And I thought she was supporting the mayor the way she was talking, right? But she's supporting Corazon, Corazon Pineda. And speaking of Corazon Pineda, really quick before I get up out of here, let's have a quick update on the mayor's race. I hear that a lot of people, have not been able to get their signatures, or getting their signatures have been tough, for people. I mean, a lot of people, really, I think the only people that was super confident and that, got their signature with no problem was the mayor, Mike Spano. And I don't know, Corazon got her signatures as well pretty quickly, but she also had this machine of Andrea Stewart-Cousins, George Latimer, Ken Jenkins, Christopher Johnson, Indivisible, and Eileen O'Connor. She had a lot of district leaders and ward leaders, because Eileen does have a few of them, in the Yonkers Democratic Party. So Corazon had a machine, that's just as comparable as that of the mayor. Corazon also, as well as those who are already in office, like Tasha Diaz, who's also running for re-election, have the food distribution lines. That makes it a lot easier for them to get petition signatures. That's pretty much, I think, why they do it. I believe that they solely do those food distribution for the sake of gathering petition signatures and even voters. People go there. You're not registered? Register before you get your bag of fruits and vegetables and powdered drinks that have since expired. No, they didn't expire. They're just past the sale date. And what that means is that they lose all their nutrients, but you can still eat it. And so, register to vote. Make sure it's Democrat. Make sure you put your name and address. So they have that information. They create this list, which is basically a voting block that they've created. The food distribution voting block. Voting blocks are important. If you have a voting block or control of a certain group of individuals, the more the better that will vote in any which way you will say or influence or whatever. That's power. That's power in politics. And so the food distribution lines, and Jeffrey Meyer's been very quiet. And I've been talking about it a lot, Jeffrey. I haven't heard you out there in Florida. Why are you even involved over here? Jeffrey Meyer is from the Ridgeway Alliance Church, one of the organizations that donates food, pantry. But they only seem to want to work with Tasha Diaz. And they defend it. Jeffrey Meyer defends it when people say things about the pantry. That's not her job. I said to him, get her away from it. She's politicizing it. He defends her, says, I have an axe to grind. No axe to grind. No axe to grind. Why? Why would I have an axe to grind with Tasha? What is it about Tasha that I have an axe to grind? It's the fact that people are being exploited, Jeffrey. And you know this. You know this very well. And so I don't have sympathy or empathy for people that knowingly do things that are not good, right? And you exploit people. And so maybe that's why my attitude sometimes is like this towards people, because I don't buy into the nonsense, right? And I just straightforward with it. And they use this food distribution line to gather a list of people that they know will be home during the day because they're going to the food distributions during the day. And how many do you think have gone through those food distributions? Nepperhan, the one at Chicken Island. Then you have YCAP that does one. And you don't think that they are giving all information? YCAP, you want to get funding, you want to get grants. And I'm not saying, I'm just giving an example, but listen, if I had to choose and say, hey, do you think, or you say no, I say, I'm going to say, yeah, that's just the probability. But let's not pick on you. The Y does a food distribution also. St. Andreas Church over there by Elliott, which is run by Lorraine Lopez. And I'm not picking on community people. I'm just telling you what it is. It's just telling you what it is. I have to tell it all. And in order to do that, I have to name certain people. Lorraine Lopez runs that. So these are like Tammany Hall people, right? And they have these food distribution spots where they get people in line. Give me your information. Then comes petition season. They gather these lists of these names, list of names, and they divide them among their volunteers or whoever are going to go out to get petitions. They utilize an app and they give you a code, and you go on that app, you log in, and you have your set territory and your names. And more than likely, they're part of the food distribution. Just ask other candidates who are knocking on doors who are saying that people said, well, I already signed, and I signed because I didn't want them to take away the food distribution. I went the very first day out there and people already had signed. Really? That was quick. It's 10 in the morning, but hey, it's possible, I guess. Did you know who you signed for? No. I just know that I signed that paper already. The only people that were certain about who they signed were people that were obviously supporting because they had some relationship with that candidate. But just everyday people who don't personally know the candidates, no. You don't really see people saying, I support that person. I don't know them. They haven't done anything for me specifically. They haven't gotten me an apartment. They haven't, done everything. I'm going to support them, right? There's a genuine organic support that I receive from people. I don't have to do, all these promotional videos and pictures. They see me in the community. I don't have to post it online. And I get things done. I help people who are having issues with the building department or municipal housing or need potholes patched up, fire hydrants fixed, keeping them honest, making sure that the silica dust that's being spread throughout the downtown area by the development on 44 Hudson Street is taken care of, because that's a health hazard. Making sure that a woman who owns a property is allowed to use her easement, and that developers don't come in and gobble her up with the help of the building department. That's what I'm busy doing. And I'm out there, and that's why people support me. Just like I got a phone call yesterday, and they asked me, why haven't you been at these things? I don't know. They don't tell me about it because they don't want me there. But if you tell me, I'll be there. So just make sure, right? And so, it's been difficult for a lot of the candidates to get signatures because they come in and they gobble them up all real quick. They have been doing this 12 years now. They have a whole system in place, and then they have these people that are in buildings that will go right away and gather everyone up, corral them into community rooms, and have them sign these petitions. They don't even know who they're signing for. And I've shown you video of that. One man was upset. He didn't know who he signed for, but Rocky from Bronx River Road over there, who's corralling people up in her building for Corazon Pineda Isaac, got him to sign. He was upset. He said, I want to sign for you, after having a conversation with me, because that's how it should be. The candidates themselves should be the one to go and get the signatures. People should see them, speak to them, hear what they have to say. Know who you're signing for. It's not just about get the signatures first. Doesn't matter. We'll deal with the voting later. That's what it's about here. And so they need to change that. It should be about the candidate going out. Don't send a bunch of people. And in the case of the mayor, utilize city employees, because I hear that there's something giving out to those who get the most signatures or who turn in the most petition sheets. They're given that day off. They can take a sick day, and a lot of them did, and they went out there, and it was a race. It was a game. I wonder what they won, and I wonder who won. But the mayor had all his signatures in less than 48 hours. But when you have the city resources, the city employees at your disposal, and you have a system set up in place that almost guarantees you the signatures and even the win, it's going to be like that. But so to the people out there still getting signatures, I still got people getting signatures out there because got to get them. Never have enough. But I want to say this, and I'll be very clear. If you're going to challenge my signatures, make sure that you're ready to deal with Freddie. Because if you are the reason why I am not on the ballot, then I'm going to find out all about you. I'm going to do podcasts about you. I'm going to connect you to the person who put you up to challenging my signatures. And we're going to find out what is in it for you. I'm going to talk about your family, all of that. I'm going to expose you. You want to get involved in my life? Then I'm going to involve myself in your life. I'm just letting you know. If you mess up my chances of being on the ballot because someone's paying you to challenge me or some reason, you don't even know who I am, you're going to get to know who I am. And I'm going to get to know who you are. And if I'm not on the ballot, I'm not going to be an elected official. It don't matter then. At that point, don't care what people think. So, do you want to get involved with Freddie? Because I don't stop. And so, this is just my message to anyone who they may get to challenge my petitions. If you want to play these dirty games, then I'll play the game you want to play. That's fine. Go ahead, challenge them. I'm sure they'll find someone. But I'm going to be all up on you. That's for sure. And I'm not going to stop. So make sure you want to go down that route. because this is serious business. And this is for the people. And no idiot is going to be screwing that up. So don't be an idiot, because I'm going to come for you. And I don't mean I'm going to hurt anybody. I'm not saying any violence or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you're going to involve yourself in my life by challenging my ballot, my signatures, I should say, then I'm going to get involved in your life. And let's see why is it that you decided to do so. All right? So to the Augustine Moraleses of the world, the Robert Voorhees of the world, the people who challenge signatures, we'll find out who you are, find out why, learn all about you. I'm going to pay to get as much information about you. Anyone that challenged my signatures. Straight up. I'm going to just be honest. Whatever happened to the Sussman lawsuit? I don't even know, man. What up, Mike Sussman? I don't know. It's funny that you asked that question, however. It's very funny that you asked that question today. I can't tell you why, but it's very funny. They are so well organized, it's almost impossible to get them out. Exactly. So we have to fight hard. And this is why I'm saying that. Like, they get people just to challenge your signatures like they did, to Carlos Burgos, where they got that guy, Augustine Morales, a guy that used to work for John Rubel, the guy that, Carlos Burgos was challenging, right? He was going against John Rubel. So John Rubel gets one of his employees, and I'm assuming it's one that he actually paid, to challenge Carlos Burgos. And he used Harris Beach, an expensive law firm. Meanwhile, this guy's a freelance masseuse working at the Yonkers Brewery, but you're hiring Harris Beach to challenge not one, but two candidates. And now the guy has a job with the city. Go figure. So I'm not playing no games, man. Not playing no games. I'm going to be done with the politics, and I'm going to take it to the street. Don't challenge my signatures. Don't get involved with Freddie. Just say, nah, I'm good. In fact, I'll do you one better. If they come to you and offer you money, come to me, and I'll double what they're going to offer you to walk away. Anybody that, right, agree to it first, set it all up, and then come to me, I'll pay you double what they offer you. Okay? No, and I mean that. I mean that 1,000%. Right? Because I don't want any problems. I'd rather do it the nice way. Let's do business, right? Because it's time for this to end. So don't be a part of it. Don't do it for a few bucks. So if that's what you need, I'll give you a few more bucks. Because this is serious business. And I really mean this. So don't challenge Freddie's signature. Brian, go ahead and post that on your Yonkers Newswire so it'll get out there even more. All right? Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you. By the way, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. And this episode, once again, was sponsored by Brian Harrod over at the Yonkers Newswire. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the information that you provide, Brian. I appreciate you. And please share this one, too. Thank you.
Freddie wins.
Come on, baby. I'm excited. I'm excited for the people of Yonkers. Change the way business has been done in politics here in the city of Yonkers for far too long. We have an opportunity to make history. I don't even want to be on the ballot. I want you to write me in the general election. That way we can show that we run the show. How about that? Either way, write me in. That's what I'm saying. I know Brian's going to make fun of that too, Brian. All right, whatever. But if people did, imagine somebody won as a write-in candidate. That would be amazing to me. That would show that the people had the control and that that's the person that the people wanted. And that's the person that deserves to be there. That would be amazing. Write-in candidate that wins, that would be amazing. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Have an amazing night.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
And another one, Mr. Rumo lied to me. And I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much. In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote for a person that lied to me.
Thank you very much. I love that lady. I love that lady. Thank you so much.
Letting Helen off easy.
Are you doing interviews right now?
Yes, I sent that text message yesterday if you had any questions for the candidates.
Yes, but I thought it was going to be like after we went through the agenda, we would then do interviews. But I'm okay. I don't have any questions. I know.
Okay.
I think she's great. I think she'll be a great first deputy counsel.
Okay.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken. So thank you.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
I know how the fuck. Hey, listen, I know you, Lieutenant. I know how the fuck you think you are. Hey, listen, I know you, Lieutenant.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken.
What a bunch of potty mouths in the city of Yonkers. Those are city employees. Holy Toledo Batman. Wow.
Begging, you're one of them. Begging.
Wow.
Begging, you're one of them. Begging. 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 Begging, you're one of them. Begging.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Who did she talk to?
Let me know.
You ratchet hood rat. Yo.
You and I would be the experts.
If it were on hot dogs, yes.
Fatality. Ready, win.